Alright YouTubers, what's going on? Got a highly anticipated video, especially for me anyway, because what we got here is a Glock 43, brand new single stack 9mm from Glock, and the Springfield XDs. Well, let me first go ahead and start by showing you that both these weapons are clear and safe. So, been wanting to do a comparison video because, man, all I keep seeing is Glock 43 versus Shield, Glock 43 versus Shield, Glock 43 versus Shield, and I'm just like, what about the XDs, guys? The XDs is my favorite single stack 9mm on the market. It's my carry gun. I carry it every single day. It's got well over 1,000 plus rounds, probably 2,000 rounds through it. And I thought it was a better comparison than the Shield. The Shield's a less expensive gun. You're kind of not in the same price point. These two are very similar in price, ranging anywhere on the Glock from I haven't seen much unless you're Leo, but $499 up to $600. You know, big difference. The XDs can actually be had under $400 right now, but typically they sell for $500 around there. I think I paid $480, so very similar in price. So let's kind of talk and just compare. We're gonna do part two. We're gonna do two videos. I was gonna do all in one. I decided to do two-part. I'm gonna do a kind of tabletop comparison, and I want to do a shooting comparison. So that'll be coming soon. So let's go ahead and just kind of dive into a little bit. So size-wise, and I've got the flush mag on the XDs, which is a 7-round, and then the flush mag. Oh, let's do the flush mag on the Glock just to make it fair. Now size-wise, they are crazy. I mean, this is the Glock on top of the XDs. Do you see any XDs sticking out? No, you don't. In fact, I think the Glock barrel, I think the length of the slide and such on the Glock is actually longer. Let's go ahead and do a side-by-side here of the XDs and the 43. That little hump in the back of the Glock is obviously kind of stick out a little farther. Grip dimension. Oh man, I wish I had calipers for this. Oh, getting a rubber band in there. Random. You're about 3/4 of an inch thick on the XDs grip, and wait, did I say 3/4? Yeah, and you're about the same on the Glock. So I'll put the exact dimensions down below, but they're very, very close. I mean, very little difference in width. Both single stacks, so they're both going to carry just phenomenally. Let's go ahead and look at the slides. Let me zoom out. Zoomed in too much. No, I'm not. Just going to get a higher point of view here. The slides. Jeez, look at these guys. These are almost, I mean, that's why I think these two are the best comparison, because they are nearly identical in size. Look at that. I mean, the barrels are almost identical. Let's go ahead and measure across. Is about 3/4 of an inch. To the Glock might be slightly, yeah, it's slightly thinner in the slide. So the Glock is a little thinner in the slide. And then the front here, as you know, these are clear. So I mean, these two are very, very similar in size. So size-wise, it's pretty much a wash in my opinion. The Glock, I thought, would be smaller. It's actually not. It's maybe a titch. You can see there in the grip. It's just a bit shorter, but you also lose 1 round capacity. So in my opinion, that's a big win for the XDs, but we'll see. So let's talk about weight. Now that we've covered the dimensions and the size of the guns, let's talk about the weight. Now this is loaded, so let me, I mean, it's not loaded, the magazine's loaded. Let's make sure we have an unloaded magazine. It's clear. XDs comes in unloaded at 1 pound 6.6 ounces. The 43 comes in at 1 pound 2 ounce. So, wow, 1 pound 2 ounce. 6.5. So you do have a lighter weight gun here, the G43. That's kind of surprising. 4 ounces. 4 ounces isn't a ton, but that is definitely advantage for the Glock there. So now, yeah, it definitely feels, just having them in hand. Yeah, that's definitely unloaded. They are the XDs does feel heavier. So I think you can actually feel that 4 ounces. So that I would give that to the Glock as far as weight's concerned. If you're really weight conscious, you know, you're going to be carrying this in a pocket or something, then the Glock would be a better option for you. So let's go ahead and compare. Well, let's talk about the sights, because I already know where this is going to go. The XDS wins hands down. You've got that beautiful front red fiber optic that I can tell you right now is so easy to pick up. You've got a pretty narrow rear sight with white dot. I mean, it's super quick target acquisition. I actually love the sights. I would not change a thing on the XDS. The Glock 43, the first thing that's probably going to go is the sights, because it's got those crappy standard plastic Glock sights. That horrible U, I mean, does not lend itself to accuracy. We'll see how they shoot compared. But from what I've seen so far in comparisons, this was definitely not as accurate as like the Smith & Wesson Shield. So let's see how it goes with the XDS. So the sights is definitely a clear advantage for the XDS. Now let's talk about the trigger. This is an important thing to me. We're going to talk about overall pull. Now this is sporting a 5.5 pound trigger. It's typical to Glocks. There's probably going to be aftermarket disconnects and such to lighten that up. Man, that slide does not want to release on that empty magazine. That was really strange. Alright, trigger pull. So we just reset the trigger. Let's do the initial take up. So there's that pretty good amount of take up there. Not too bad. Yeah, it feels about 5.5 pounds. Just do the reset. Pretty good reset. XDS, again, unloaded guns. I'd say about the same take up on the XDS. Around the same pull. This is where the XDS shines, though. It's definitely a shorter reset. Let's try that again on the Glock just to confirm. Shorter reset on the XDS. So trigger-wise, both good for a single stack 9, both striker fired. But I would give the slight advantage to the XDS as far as the trigger. And that's just dry firing. We'll see how they actually shoot. I know how good this gun shoots. It's phenomenal. Love it. So this one's also sporting the Talon grips. So we're not going to compare that too much because that's not really fair to the Glock. But I do like the stippling that comes from the factory. It's pretty grippy. Get that in hand. Now, I will say this. The grip is slightly shorter on the Glock, and it is noticeable when you do not have the extended magazine. Excuse me. It's not an extended magazine. It's just got a pinky extension. That's it. So when you have this flush mag, again, I have medium-sized hands. Got my grip way high up in that beaver tail, and you got about that much hanging off. Let's see if I can. Yeah, the XDS is definitely a more. It fills your hand better with the flush fit mags. It barely has any pinky room left off. So I do like that better. Now, if you compare. Once you put the pinky extension on the Glock, it's actually perfect for me. And I don't have my pinky extension magazine handy, but it's you know, obviously gives you even more room on the XD. I prefer to carry the XD with the flush fit because I can get almost exactly those 3 fingers on. I mean, just a little bit hanging off. I could tell you right now with the 43 that I would want that extension on all my magazines. So if you were to do that and compare these two, the Glock is obviously going to be longer. Not by a whole lot, though. Check that out. Still, you're losing that 1 round capacity, which, in my opinion, is a big deal. So anyway, so trigger-wise, size-wise, very similar. Not a whole lot of differences. Weight, the Glock is lighter. It's a tad bit thinner in the slide, and it is about 4 ounces. I already said it's lighter. The sights, however, are a huge advantage to the XDS. So, I mean, you're looking to spend at least another $100. I have heard that the G42 sights do fit the 43, and there is quite a few aftermarket sights already for those. If you want to put some night sights or even a fiber optic or something better than these horrible Glock sights, then you're going to be looking to spend another $100, so that kind of takes the value right back to the XDS because it just comes from the factory with much better sights, period. So, guys, this is a cool time to be into guns and to have a concealed carry. So many good options in the 9mm concealed carry. This is just 2. The Shield, a great gun. I carried it for a long time. I still prefer the XDS to the Shield. That's just personal preference. The Shield's a great gun. I'd never knock it because it's awesome. It does come with better sights out of the factory, from the factory also than the Glock, but not as good as the XDS. But you're talking at 300. I mean, I see them sell for 350 constantly. 340 was the lowest price I've seen it sell for. So that's the best value, hands down. The Shield, best value. Best overall gun. I've carried the Walther PPS, the Car CM9, the Keltec PF9, Glock 26. I mean, that's on a double. That's not a single stack. As far as single stacks go, I still we'll see how the 43 shoots tomorrow when I take it out. I'm still leaning towards the XDS, though. I just think it's a better overall gun. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are, and I'm not a Glock hater, guys. I've owned a 19, a 26, actually 3 19s, and 126. Not a hater at all. They're great guns. I don't like the grip angle as much. I definitely like it better on the XDS in my hand. I can already tell you that much. So I'm not a Glock hater. I didn't go out and buy this gun to hate on it because I want to give it a fair shot. And worst case scenario, my son now shoots the XDS. He's got a gun to shoot in the Glock, or vice versa. We take turns. So, you know, that's another big advantage to single stack 9mm is for people with small hands, like women and children, can actually shoot and handle these weapons quite well. And that is one big advantage. So they're not just for carry. So, magazines. Let's take a look at the magazines and compare those a little bit. Magazine release is ambidextrous, I believe. It is ambi on the XDS, and it is not on the Glock. So that's kind of a win for the XDS there. The slide release is not ambi on the XDS or the Glock. Takedown, very, very similar on the Glock. You know, just, I'm not going to take it apart yet, but you just slide that down, slide the slide off. The XDS has this lever you flip up, very similar. I mean, very, very similar. Both have great easy takedown. It takes a matter of seconds to clean these guns. So there's no real advantage there for either one. One thing I did hear about that people were complaining about is the trigger guard. Now, look at the size of the trigger guard on the XDS versus the Glock. It's much bigger. There's a good size comparison. I mean, the Glock 43 trigger group pretty much fits inside the XDS. If you're wearing gloves, that could be an issue. Something to think about. Some people like that on the Shield and the XDS, that it has the bigger trigger guard. So another thing to consider when you're, you know, if you're in the market. And the whole purpose of this video, guys, is to help those that are in the market for one of these guns and they're looking at both of them to kind of make an educated decision. You can't go wrong with either one. But out of the box, the XDS to me is a better value and a better gun. As far as just by looking at features, looking at the price, looking at the sights, you know, not having to spend an extra $100 on sights. Now, you don't have to on the Glock. You can definitely use these. These are usable sights, but they're not my favorite for sure. The XDS comes with phenomenal sights for the money. So, so far, you know, I'm leaning towards the XDS still, but, you know, this is just a tabletop review, guys. We need to go out and shoot them and compare them side by side, which we'll be doing in part 2 of this video series. So stay tuned for that. There will be shooting very soon, most likely tomorrow. We're going to compare the magazines. Try not to ramble on too much. And see, I find this... Okay, let's do flush. That only makes sense. Now look at the size of those two magazines next to each other. What's kind of mind-blowing to me is they're almost the same size, yet the XDS holds one more round. And I've got a 9mm bullet here. These are my Federal HSTs that I carry. And I want to see if the difference is a 9mm, and it's not. If you look at that, if you were to have an extra round in the Glock, the magazine would be longer, causing the handle to be longer. You know, so again, that one round capacity is another reason why I think the XDS and the Shield may be a better choice. So now I did hear there is a company that's already made +2 extensions for these to give them 8 rounds, but I can imagine that adds roughly probably that much or more to the end of the Glock. So something to consider when you're concealing. Now the Car CM9 that I had, it was only a 6-round mag gun also. I'm 99% sure. I'll have to double check my facts on that, but I'm pretty sure that was 6+1 versus the 7+1 on the XDS. If we're talking the Shield, it's 7+1 plus you get an 8-round mag. The XDS does have a 9-round mag, so if you're looking at capacity, the XDS is kind of the winner there because you do have the 9-round magazine option, which I have a couple of those that I use for the range. So I think it's been a fun comparison. I'm really enjoyed doing this video. I've been looking forward to doing it for a while. It's just Glocks have been, the 43 has been hard to get, and luckily my local FFL that's like literally down the street from me that I buy a lot of guns from got some in stock today. He held one for me so I can come pick it up. His price was great, $4.99. So not too high. I seen another shop selling for like $5.80. So he's not gouging people, which is great. I always try to bring my business because he's a little small, you know, in the home kind of dealer. So Glock 43, guys, there it is. Comparison with the XDS. If you're looking for a little bit lighter weight gun, go with the Glock. If the capacity doesn't bother you, if you are familiar with Glock arms, if you carry, let's say, a 19 and want to back up, this would be a logical choice. One thing that's going to hang up a lot of people, and why people don't like the XDS and didn't like the Shield until they came out with a safety-less version of the Shield, is the manual safety. Now on the XDS, it's only very similar safeties as far as trigger goes, you know, but you're going to have the grip safety here on the XDS. Honestly, come on, it's been around since the 1911. I mean, not a big deal. How often do you grip the gun down here and try to shoot it? Never. But if that's an issue, you can do that with the Glock, but it's probably going to fly right out of your hand. That's never been a problem. Never had any malfunctions. Any shooter. I mean, my 10-year-old son shoots this gun well. You know, he didn't have any problem because if you shoot a gun properly, you're going to have a high grip, as high in that beaver tail as you can get, and you're never going to have a problem. You know, you're going to have a firm grip. I guess if you're limp wristing it and stuff, you may have a problem. So there is an advantage there for the Glock. If you're big safety, don't want any kind of safeties on your gun, then the Glock, I mean, does have a safety, but no manual safety, nothing to click on like the Shield used to have. Well, they still have, but there's a shieldless or a safetyless model. No grip safety. That's a big deal to you. Get the Glock. Feels good in the hand. I mean, I do like it. I just definitely prefer that extended pinky rest, and it is a really nice feeling gun in the hand, and I know it's going to be quality. I know it's going to be reliable. It's a Glock. The hump right here is what Glocks are notorious for. It's more pronounced on the larger models than this one, so that's not as big a deal on the 43. But yeah, pretty cool, guys. It's a fun time to be into guns and fun time to have, you know, so many options for concealed carry because there's so many great options in this price range. I just felt like this was a comparison that wasn't really out there, that everyone's so concentrated on the Shield, and I've had a lot of people, I read a lot of comments on my videos, how about the XDS? Well, here it is. Here's your video. So stay tuned for part 2 where we go out and shoot. I'll do some targets, talk about accuracy, you know, how the gun feels, recoil impulse, those kind of things, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching the video. We'll see you on the next one. One more quick thought that I just had, so we'll have to edit this in, is when you buy the XDS, if you buy the gear, the standard package comes with an outside the waistband Kydex holster and magazine pouches. Glock just comes with your case and a mag loader. I think the XDS actually came with a mag loader also, so a little bit more value there. You get a holster, magazine carrier, such. So there you go.